How do you start a business despite COVID? How do you recover from your COVID losses? Hello, it's Ken Robinson. This is the Sales and Marketing Show, brought to you by kenrobinson.com. If you're like many of my coaching clients who've lost a great deal due to COVID, their businesses have been threatened, but all is not lost. In today's show, my guest is Paul Lancaster. Paul is the founder and director of a company called Plan Digital, which normally runs an annual 5-day Newcastle Startup Week festival in the UK, which attracted just over 800 delegates last year. Since COVID, Paul has pivoted to running events online through his private Facebook group. He survived through COVID and plans to share the lessons he has learned about building his business in lockdown. So let's jump in and start learning how to start a business despite COVID. Hello, Paul. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Ken. Thank you for inviting me.
So take us back. Now, I'm going to play a clip in a moment, but it was only last year that you were holding major events with over 800 people. And you've gone from that to Facebook. What does that transition look like?
Yeah, so like I say, for the last few years, I've been running a big 5-day multi-venue citywide event called Newcastle Startup Week, which the first 2 years we had just over 600 people, and last year we had just over 800. And this year I was aiming for 1,000 in May, and then obviously lockdown happened, COVID happened. So yeah, I've had to pivot to move into online, and now we have an online community that people can join all year round, and we've been running our 5-day events within a private Facebook group. So it's been a challenge, like everyone. We've been having to get to grips with new ways of delivering things, but so far it's going well. I knew the content would be great, but I wasn't quite sure how engaged people would be. But it's going well, but obviously not as exciting as a physical event when you bring so many people together in one place.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I myself used to run sales workshops. And I remember when I live in Australia, you're based in the UK in Newcastle. Interestingly enough, I'm in Newcastle, but I'm in Newcastle, Australia, and you're in Newcastle, in the UK. And when you first reached out to me, having watched one of my videos on YouTube, and you said you were in Newcastle, I thought, oh, that's good. I'll be able to get in the car and go and have a cup of coffee. But unfortunately, our budget doesn't extend to a Learjet. But it has been a massive change. I remember at the time when COVID came to Australia, I had a client and I was booked to do a 2-day training event teaching people how to sell at boardroom level. And they were looking at paying me $20,000. And I'll never forget, phone call, 11 o'clock at night. Terribly sorry, Ken, but we may even be shutting down our business. So it's been a tough time. But let's take a walk down memory lane. And I just want to play this little clip that gives you an idea of what is possible prior to COVID. And we'll show in this interview, Paul's going to give us some tips how he went from this to what he's doing today. Let's take a look at this.
So today is Inspiration Day. It's all about celebrating local success stories of the past, present and future, geeing everyone up, getting people excited and motivated.
From being here just today, there's a lot of energy here. There's a lot of people with a lot of excitement about what they want to do, and it's really exciting to see how many businesses might get started out of a day like today.
So every year I'm really excited to come to Newcastle Startup Week because it's an amazing opportunity to be inspired, excited, and motivated by the really incredible, innovative and creative organisations in the North East.
The best people to help a startup or a scale-up is another business owner. You can't live long enough to learn all the lessons in life about running a business, but you can learn from each other.
What an exciting time that must have been. And now you've gone from that to Facebook. So the whole idea of my program, I'm a sales and marketing coach, and I like to help people, not just my clients, but people right across the world, because I know how tough it is to get business, and COVID has only taken it to the next level. But the purpose of the show is to help people get business. And as we're going online, I thought, who better than the maestro himself, the guy. I mean, it's really interesting. I come from the old school world where you pick up a telephone and make a cold call. And thankfully, I'm quite successful at that and win up many times up to $5,000 to $10,000 contracts. But unfortunately, you can't get in a car and meet with people. And when Paul reached out to me only yesterday through Facebook, and we were talking about Twitter, and you said, oh, yes, I have a Twitter account. I said, oh, yes, I've just sent my first 2 tweets. And then all of a sudden he announces, oh, yes, I've got 16,000 followers. And did I feel old school immediately? So in this interview, Paul, I think it would be really helpful. Now, we don't have a week, unlike your normal startup program, but if let's just take a theoretical situation. Imagine for a moment that you were starting a business now. You had a laptop at home, you had a basic internet connection, and let's just say you wanted to run a course. Use that as an example. And you know, maybe you're a trainer like me, and all of a sudden, all the public workshops are dried up, especially where you are, because you're in complete lockdown where you are. So none of that would be happening. And all of a sudden, you've got to transition from meeting in maybe a local conference centre to doing this online. Take us through what you would suggest you would do starting up a business like that in the current climate.
Okay, so I mean, my whole business is about helping inspire and encourage more people to start a business. So that's what the events are all about. But all year round, I'm giving help and advice and signposting and matchmaking to new and potential entrepreneurs. So that's, in a way, the moving online to Facebook, instead of just having a one big event in a year, we can now do that all year round. So it has opened up opportunities, and it means that we're not geographically limited either. So we did always get a good group of people coming from all over the UK and overseas as well. But now potentially we can get anyone from anywhere in the world joining our Facebook group. But a good friend of mine he's a coach, and he often says you only really need 10 clients or 10 customers to change your life. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people think they need lots and lots of followers to do business, and you don't. I am fortunate, I suppose, in that I have built up a large following over many years. I do have an above average number of followers on Twitter and Instagram, LinkedIn, but not every one of those is a client. You know, not every one of those buys a ticket for my events. So social media is just an opportunity to have a conversation with someone. And you're talking about you being old school. A lot of people, including myself, probably hide behind the social media and the digital marketing. But that's not the same as picking up the phone and converting some interest into a sale. So I actually think your skills are probably in more demand now than ever before for some people.
So when would you like to start? I'll give you a commission. But it's interesting you say that, because I was reading a book by a chap by the name of Jeb Blount, who is a sales trainer based in the States. And he talked about the fact he had this young gun sales guy join his team. And, you know, and Jeb is, like me, comes from the old school of getting on the phone and doing business and cold calling people. Because at the end of the day, I mean, this is the interesting thing people don't understand about marketing. Like, they talk about sales funnels, right? Now, I can understand in a sales funnel, you can sell a $90 course or a $100 type thing. But in my case, where some of my marketing services are anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, I can assure you, people aren't going to put their credit card in to a sales funnel online to somebody they've never met for $10,000. It just ain't going to happen. But the interesting thing is if I was selling those services, I could take them through the sales funnel, through LinkedIn and my webpage and my giveaway and all of that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to talk to them. Even if it's a Zoom meeting, I'm going to have to take them on a journey in my presentation from, maybe there's a possibility here, to Ken, where do we send the check? And so you're correct. People do need basic sales skills. And what I'm seeing online as I get into this, and I'm a babe in the woods in comparison to yourself, but what I'm seeing is all of these organisations are selling all this technology. You know, like I spoke to a client the other day, and he bought a website, and he thought, oh, it's a beautiful looking website, but he has no idea what to put on the homepage. He has no idea how to actually write the copy. But one thing I'm interested, and I think the people watching this would be very interested in, is, yes, you only need 10 clients, but when you've got millions of people online in social media, I mean, you've got hundreds of hours of video content being pumped through YouTube, you know, like it's a fire hydrant. How do you put out content? How do you put out a message that gets you, you know, in touch with one person, let alone 10?
Yeah, I definitely think that is a challenge, and actually I think one thing during the lockdown is people are feeling overwhelmed with how much content is out there, because a lot of people they're now in survival mode, and they're just creating loads of content because they're just in sales mode and survival mode, and they're just churning out video content or blogs or podcasts. And I'm definitely speaking to some people who are finding that so overwhelming that they're completely disengaging, which is a problem. But some of those people who are creating that content, some of it is really good, some of it's not so good. And one thing I'm saying to people is, but often they don't have an audience of their own. Okay, so what I'm saying to them is, why don't you tap into people who already have an audience, piggyback on that audience and do things jointly? So for example, like what we're doing here now, you've got great sales and marketing experience, and I've got an audience. My audience is mostly UK based. You're obviously over in Australia. I'm really keen to make my business more international. You're really keen to make your business international. We're both kind of just starting out with YouTube, trying to figure that out together. So together, that's complementary. You know, I'm already benefiting from our conversation that we had yesterday. It's got me thinking about how I'm going to change what I'm doing, and hopefully we can support each other. Just by doing this video alone, we'll open up new audiences for us. So I think that's the case. Like, figure out who you could potentially partner with or buddy up with, and to amplify your reach.
Okay, so that's a great tip, and I mean, we're doing that here together, and that came about because I made the YouTube video, and then I went on Facebook, and I joined as many groups as I could think of that I was associated with, and I put the same video out, but I wrote a different post for each group. So I targeted the post to the group. So the group that you and I are involved in is about building membership sites and growing online stuff. So I simply wrote a post, to do membership sites. Obviously, video marketing is important. I've made this video. I think it might help you. And the other thing that I find that is really important from my own experience is that there's a famous sales trainer who passed away a number of years ago. I went and saw him in person, amazing guy called Zig Ziglar, most amazing storyteller. And he said that if you help enough people get what they want, they will help you get what you want. Now, as you know, I'm only new at this whole online thing. But immediately I thought to myself, I'm doing this YouTube program. People like you saw one yesterday. As a result, we've connected. I'm now doing another program. So the first thing I decided to do is, okay, can I give something of value that will make it, if you help me, I'll help you. So I thought, okay, so the first thing that they teach you on YouTube is you need to get subscribers. But just putting up a logo like that saying, please subscribe, I mean, yeah, thank you very much. But my belief is, want to give people something. So for example, in my case, I wrote this book. It's called The Sales Booster. It's a story. Some 23 years ago, I'd been in partnership with a couple of people, been ripped off a couple of $1 million, got married. I wasn't bankrupt, but I had no money, and things were tough. And I'll never forget, my wife came home one day from work. She was paying all the bills, and she said to me, Ken, I've got some good news and I've got some interesting news. And immediately I thought, oh my God, she's got a pay rise. And she said, no, it's not a pay rise. She said, I'm pregnant. and have you ever been in one of those situations where on the one hand you're thinking, wow, this is fantastic news. But then on the other hand, you're thinking, we've got no money. You're the only one working. You're pregnant. And then before the thought could even come out of my mind, she said, the other thing is I've told my boss that I'm quitting my job in 9 months and that you'll be providing for us. And I'll tell you what, it was like, my wife's on a 6-figure income. We own a unit on the harbour that I've got a mortgage on. We've got a yacht. We've got a new car. We live a 6-figure lifestyle. And in 9 months, I've actually got a... And so what this book is about, and please, at the bottom in the description of this YouTube video, there is a link. There's no strings attached. Now let me say one thing. This book is not a sales, there's nothing selling in it, right? It's not a sales pitch. As I said, if you help enough people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. And the reason I wrote this book, and I'm giving it away, is please, if you could just do me a favor, it's not very complicated. Even a Luddite like me can press the subscribe button down below. But in this book, what it does is it tells the story of how I started a business in 1 week in a market that I'd never worked in, which was real estate, and I made $10,000 in my first week. And in the last 23 years, I've worked with over 400 real estate offices throughout Australia and New Zealand and built a very comfortable income. And so there's some really practical stuff in there. But there is an example of what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like in a normal sales meeting, you know, I can give somebody something. But through social media, it's very hard to connect. So is that the type of thing that you suggest in your startup program? Do you suggest that people going online have a giveaway?
Yeah, so I mean, my background before starting my own business, I was working for a company called Sage, which a lot of people will know is a huge technology company, global company, but the UK's biggest software company, providing small business software like accountancy and payroll and online payment software. So I was there for 3 years. I was their inbound marketing and social media specialist. So that was my job, to try and raise awareness of their products and services and try to get traffic to the website. And inbound marketing is a bit of a buzz phrase, but it's basically just whatever you can do to generate qualified leads. So to get people who are interested in your products and services to visit your website and do something as a result of that. So that could be, obviously, ultimately you want them to buy the product or sign up for a free trial or download a free guide, something that's going to get them into the top of your funnel. It's marketing speak. Because if they've done that and they've expressed an interest, then that's an opportunity for you to have a conversation. So I think that's all social media is. If you put a bit of content out and someone engages with that, if they like it, that's potentially an indication that they might be interested in a follow-up conversation or a chat. And what you're offering there, a free book, is a fantastic way to do that, because if they're, presumably I haven't done that yet, but I will do it. If they download it, presumably they have to provide you with their email address.
So in my case, they go to my website. I put them on an email. You know, I don't believe in bugging people. But you know, I make videos like this. I make training videos and stuff like that, and it's about building a relationship. But I'd like to ask you a question, because I would imagine there are people like me who, like, you had an event. Your events were a lot larger than mine, 800 people. I was just doing small sales workshops of about 30 people max, because as a sales trainer, there's probably about as much as you can train in one day. Your events were, but you went onto Facebook and you went online. Now, there are lots of people right now who would love to use Facebook and charge a regular fee, me being one of them. So if you're not interested in this, just go and read a book for a moment, because I definitely am. But I do think there are a lot of people who are interested in it. Based on my experience, the fact that I've got testimonials and, you know, I can prove that what I do works, how would you suggest somebody like me transitions into that world? Just to give us a simple, 5 steps that you would recommend.
5 steps. Wow. Okay. I mean, I must admit, it wasn't easy. I thought it would be a bit easier for me, having done this for a few years, because I do have a database. I have an mailing list of 3,000 people that's been built up over the last few years. So I've got 3,000 people in my email marketing database that I can send newsletters to regularly. I've also got all these other social media followers. So you would think it would be easier to get people to sign up for online private Facebook group, and it hasn't. I mean, people are joining, but I think people are quite skeptical as well, because there is so much online content out there, and some have been burned because they've joined things and it hasn't worked. There's also a lot of free stuff out there as well that they can join, and some people just aren't on Facebook as well. There are quite a few people who've joined our Facebook group who have had to specifically create a new account just to get into the Facebook group. So, and price as well. I was saying to you yesterday, I think after our conversation and even a few days before that, I think I've been personally focused too much on talking about what they get in return for paying the money rather than what the benefits are to them. So that's definitely what you're great at doing, is leading with what the benefits are to the user or the client, rather than talking about what they get. So it's, someone was saying to me the other day, features tell, but benefits sell. So I think
Well, a good example of that, and I'd like to actually help you, because as I said, I'm a great believer in what Zig Ziglar said. If you help enough people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. So I'm going to do a little marketing exercise with you. Now, imagine for a moment that you're in the same business as one of my clients, because I don't have an exact example, but okay, right? We're selling the same thing, right? And let's just say, in your case, how much does it cost to go to your event?
Well, that's the thing. It's at the lower end of the market. So because I want to make it accessible to people. So for a 5-day event, it's £150 UK pounds, and then for the online community, it's £75 for 12 months.
Okay. Well, in that case, if you're talking those figures, the example that I'm going to show you should definitely work, because my client sells minimum $1 million Australian. Anywhere up to $10 million, right? Okay, so he's dealing big dollars, but highly competitive, big tender process. Now, let's take a look at your website. Here are the headlines. Now, the first thing I always say to people is that people listen to a radio station called WIIFM. What's in it for me? Now, you're selling a startup program. So I'm new, I've got a limited amount of money, and all I'm thinking is, spending all this time with these people, am I going to get anything out of it? So on your website, you do what most people do, which is you tell them about what you're selling. What you don't do immediately, see, people reading headlines. Think of everybody like the news, it's all headlines, boom, boom, boom. Donald Trump, loses the election. All very simple headlines that people can relate to. And immediately within 30 seconds you go, I'm over Trump, I'll switch channels. Or, no, I'm interested in Trump, I'll listen, right? So imagine, I'm just going to take you through a little exercise, because I think a lot of you watching this right now, I would suggest that once you watch this, go to your website and do this exercise, because this exercise could mean the difference between you winning business and not. So let's just imagine my client is a major construction company, and he is selling to a board of directors, and they've got a number of builders. He works in the club industry, builds big, like Las Vegas type complexes, right? Multi-million-dollar projects. So let me ask you a question. Just imagine you are on the board. We're about to spend $5 million. What are some of the things that we would like out of this exercise? Give me just a couple off the top of your head.
Well, what would they want from the exercise of working with you? Or
but what about things like, we want to save money? Hey, if we can if we can get the same thing for a lot less money, we're way in front. What about saving time? What about finding out that somebody like us has walked down the garden path with this particular person I'm going to show you, and been successful. So on that note, let's take a look at my client's website. Look at the headline. How a club saved $1.5 million and increased their gaming revenue by over 33%.
Yeah.
So we've increased the revenue, by 33%, and we've sent our costs down by 1.5. Now, I know for a fact that when we spoke last night about your event, there are lots of people who go away from your event and start up successful businesses. But without being rude, and I'm not trying to be rude, just trying to be helpful here, all this website does is talk about you, but it doesn't talk about the success that people have, which is why I deliberately played the video, because there were some key people on that video. One guy, you know, I'm not from the UK, but he had an OBE and obviously he was quite a famous fellow, and he was saying some pretty good stuff, but it's not on your website. Now, the other thing that you can do on your website, let's just go back here to my clients, is one of the services that I offer is I create publications for people. So I have a team of journalists and we actually go out and interview people. So if we open this up, and this is as far as I will go, and on this website, so we've got the headline up here at the top, how clubs save 1.5 million, increased the game revenue by over 33%. We've got how clubs slash wages bill by 30%. Now imagine you're running a club. These are the type of headlines that you yourself would like to experience. You know, avoid club building. Smithfield RSL saves 50% on building and grows membership. And then because our magazines are online, when you open them up, and it's great for people like me who've got, yes, we accept cookies, terrible eyesight, it's not my client saying how wonderful he is, but on the inside, it's the general manager of the Kumiala Memorial Services Club. And in this story, he said, Builder saved my club $200,000 and grew my food sales by 35%.
Yeah.
Now, I know for a fact, the interesting thing about this is that this particular client, when I did his website, all of his architects and interior designers said, oh, but that's not the way you do websites. Well, let me tell you, is your website for you or your staff?
Yeah.
Because you know what? Your staff will want to see the industry awards. You will want to talk about the fact that you started your business when you came out of the Ark and Noah was your first business partner. But from your client's point of view, they don't care. All they want to know, they listen to that radio station, WII-FM, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
Now, going back to this online stuff, because you really haven't answered my question. You've said it's hard, and you know I'm experiencing that, but I've got, let's just using Facebook as an example, because that's a free service. What's involved, like let's just say, for argument's sake, I've got a database of say 50 people, and they respect me in a particular field, and maybe they've been to one of my workshops, because this video could be right now being watched by trainers out there like me who can't train in public at the moment, but are trying to work out how to transition online. What are the steps that you would recommend them? If you were advising me, if you were my coach for a moment, what would you advise me to get a Facebook group where I can actually charge people some money? Go for it. I can't wait to hear your answer.
Okay, so I think it does depend on the type and the nature of the business that you're providing. And I suppose because I did already have a large audience, and I was well known for running these events, and so I had people who were interested in continuing where we left off, and they still, some people had already bought tickets for the physical event, and obviously we couldn't do that, so I wanted to give them a space where we could still deliver a 5-day experience, but in a private way that only ticket holders could have. So it made sense to do a Facebook group because it was somewhere we could have that very social vibe that's as close to the real Startup Week as possible, because it was a mixture of live streaming and lots of interaction, lots of engagement between the audience and the speakers, and some pre-recorded content as well. So of all the platforms, that made the perfect sense for us. I did kind of have a paywall, obviously, behind that, because you couldn't get in there unless you'd already bought a ticket or you bought a new ticket for that. But I think there's a lot of people who create free Facebook groups. Facebook groups are really good, and Facebook is really investing heavily in Facebook groups now, after kind of not giving them much love for a while. So there's loads of good tools and ways to build your audience through there. So I would maybe think of Facebook groups as a really good way that you can kind of nurture potential leads, potential customers and clients, and just offer them things of value on there and get the conversation going, and use that as in a way that's manageable for you as well, because you don't want to get into a situation where you're just on that Facebook group all day, every day, and you're not actually doing any other business. So I think a Facebook group is a nice way to have your own kind of little niche community around you and the work that you're doing. And a friend of mine, Nicola, that's what she does very well. She has a training and events company, but she's got a free group that she's built up. And she encourages other people to promote their businesses in there, but there's always an undercurrent of her promoting her products and services, and that's okay. People are cool with that because they're still getting value from being part of it. But actually, we were saying the other day, I think LinkedIn, you got to treat each platform differently. LinkedIn for me is that's where the business leaders are, that's where the decision makers are, and the people with budgets hang out. A lot of people on LinkedIn, they're not on Facebook, they're not on Twitter, they're not on Instagram. So if you're wanting to get senior business leaders and decision makers and people with budgets and professional services, lawyers, accountants, investors, that's where they hang out. And if you want to cut through the noise at the minute, video is still the best way to do that, because there are not many people putting videos on LinkedIn still. So if you do a good quality video that offers real value within just a few minutes, you'll get a very good organic response from that without putting any money into it, unlike Facebook or Twitter, where it's getting harder to reach an audience organically. Particularly on Facebook, if you want to reach a lot of people, you tend to have to put a bit of money behind it. And I'm all for doing things organically and not spending money on things unnecessarily. A lot of people do put money into Facebook ads and Google ads and stuff like that, but I would use all of these platforms as a way to test, to try new things out organically, and if something gets a good response, then put some money behind it to boost it. But right now, LinkedIn for everyone is your best way to reach an audience organically, particularly through video.
Yes, it's interesting you talk about the Facebook. I have a real estate sales course I've run for the last 3 years, and I found Facebook advertising very effective. For example, I'm targeting the east coast of Australia, and it worked out from memory, and the prices have probably gone up now, but it was about $189 a week to run a little ad with a link to a webinar. And you know what? Webinars are fantastic because you can basically do a presentation. The only thing is, if you're going to do a webinar, you've got to make sure you offer some value. People just don't want to come and listen to a sales spiel. I mean, that's why I do videos like this, because I try and educate people. Because it's the old thing, as you would know in marketing, the know, like, and trust factor. People get to know you through platforms like this. You're seeing me, you're hearing me, you're thinking he sounds like an old fart, but he might know something. And then as a result of getting to know me, some of them are going to like me. And hey, who cares if a whole heap of people don't like me? I mean, this video could be seen by 5,000 people. How many customers do I need? As you said, 10 would make a big difference. So everybody, I mean, that's the interesting thing about YouTube. Everybody's out there trying to get 1 million people views, but in reality, most business people like me, if we got 1,000 views every month, I could probably retire to the Bahamas. Well, actually, no, my wife would just up the budget. And as a result of they like what they see, they start to trust you. And I think that is the key. But at $189, it worked out I was able to reach 8,000 real estate salespeople a week. And out of that, I sold several tickets. I think they're $199 for my 5-week online course. which if you go to kenrobinson.com.au, if you're a real estate salesperson watching this course is available. And that was very, very powerful. Now, time has come to a close. All the people in YouTube land have got to head off and watch the next video. So before we go, I'm going to bring up your website here again. Can you give us the address for this website so people can go and check you out?
Yeah, so it's just newcastlestartupweek.com. And despite the name, it's not just for startups. There are a lot of people who are in established businesses and corporates who are looking to learn how to be more entrepreneurial and how to tap into that new startup and small business community. So yeah, check out newcastlestartupweek.com, all over social media. But if people want to follow me as well, my Twitter account and everything is Lord Lancaster.
What did you say? Lord Lancaster?
Lord Lancaster. So, so I'm not Lord yet, but I used to be, many years ago, I used to be a DJ and a producer. So yeah, Lord Lancaster. I like the alliteration and the kind
All of a sudden, I was thinking this show's going up market. I'm thinking, not only have I got a smart marketing guy from the UK, but I've got Lord Lancaster on. Oh, gee whiz, things are improving. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, I'm going to put the links in the description below. You've also got the Facebook online. Just give us a quick rundown of what people are going to get by joining that.
Yeah, so taking your examples as a suggestion. So when people join the online Startup Week community, the type of thing that happens is as soon as people join, they can book a one-to-one session with me. So I'll do a 30 to 40-minute business consultation where I'll figure out where they're at and what they need help with. And I am usually able to help everyone in some capacity, either directly or I know someone that can help them because I am known as a super connector. I do have a really good network online and offline. Once they join the Facebook group, every day, Monday to Friday, there are useful and inspiring content and resources and special offers and deals and discounts in there. But then the type of thing that is happening, some of the members are directly winning customers from other members. So there's one guy who's definitely sold 10 products to 10 clients, 10 customers since joining. There's another guy who did a video with me, a LinkedIn Live video, which had 1,400 views in 24 hours because that's what he wanted. He wanted to raise his profile and tap into my audience. There are others who wanted some e-commerce advice, which I've been giving them some help with that. So whatever you need help with, particularly if you're just starting out if you're a pre-starter in your first 18 months of starting a business, there'll be something in that group for you that I can either help you with or other members of that community can help you with. So yeah, encourage people to check it out. And just like you, if people want to check out our YouTube channel, the Newcastle Startup Week YouTube channel, there are loads of free videos on there, great tips and advice that people can access to see the type of thing that we do.
Well, Paul Lancaster, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you get more startups as well. Well, that brings us to the press the right button. That brings us to the end of another one of my programs. My name's Ken Robinson. I'm your sales business marketing coach. And yeah, I hope that you've got a lot out of this. How do you start a business despite COVID? I mean, I know that there's a lot of negative press around at the moment, but don't be put off. I know for a fact here in Australia, a lot of people are actually making sales. And people say to me, but how can you be making sales in such negative times? Well, the reality is in negative times, people question everything. They start thinking to themselves, do I need to get a better supplier? Which means it opens the doors up for all of us to start getting new business. And as a way of thanking you, if you could do me a favour, yes, and it is a favour, and I'd really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, could you please go to the trouble of clicking on the subscribe button below? And as a thank you for doing that, in the links below, you can get a copy of my book, The Sales Booster. And in that book, you'll learn a whole series of techniques that help me, firstly, earn $10,000 in my first week of doing business, but develop a business that has been going for 23 years. My name's Ken Robinson. It's been good having your company today. And until next time, bye for now.